Jonathan Hoenig is this really silly Fox News contributor. Half of me hates him, and the other half of me feels bad for him. Because you kind of get the sense that he was, like, picked on his whole life, so now he tries to be Mr. Conservative, tough guy, macho, to make up for it. But in all seriousness, he's like a cartoon character in his actions and his mannerisms and his voice and his arguments. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a second if you already don't know who Jonathan Hoenig is. So he was speaking about ISIS and Obama, and he said this.
We have enemies, and they're the ones who are declaring war on America and slicing journalists' heads off. And you know what? We don't have, Eric, to your point about people on visas, etc. You know, we don't have Japanese kamikazes now. We don't have SS stormtroopers because we destroyed that enemy. We totally discredited those ideas. I honestly wonder if our current administration would have won World War II. I think we'd have lost it. We needed to take a page of General Douglas MacArthur. No substitute for total victory. That's the only thing that's going to keep us safe.
So there are two claims there that are absolutely ridiculous. The first one is just defeat terrorism. Defeat terrorism. That's like saying we need to defeat murder. We need to defeat robbery, theft, arson, all different crimes. You can't defeat it because it's a tactic, okay? It's like saying we're going to wage a war on murder. How are you going to wage a war on murder? What are you talking about? You can't just wage a war on it and beat it. There's always going to be murder. Just the question is, how many murders? How big of a problem is it? So the idea is you have to limit it as much as possible because that's all you could do as human beings. So that's point number one. You can't just defeat terrorism. That's what kind of terrorism? Which people are we talking about? Do you realize that there are thousands of terrorist groups in the world with all different ideologies and beliefs? Do you realize it's a tactic? To say that is like saying try to defeat murder. And then he compares ISIS and terrorism to Nazi Germany and Japan in World War II. There's no more kamikaze pilots or Nazis because we totally defeated them and we should totally defeat terrorism. Yeah. Except Japan and Nazi Germany, they were states. They were a state. There are people who believe in jihad or people who believe in all different forms of terrorism all around the world. So what are you going to do? What are you going to stop off in Kazakhstan on Monday and kill 47 people who believe in jihad? Or maybe some people are Shiites and believe in the group Hezbollah. Other people are Sunnis and believe in Al-Qaeda. Other people believe in Al-Nusra Front. And then you're going to stop off in London, where there are plenty of people in London who believe in jihad. There's a handful of people in Montana that believe in jihad. Hey, you can't do it. You can't do that. It's not possible. Japan is a state. Germany is a state. We defeated the states. They had specific leaders, and it was a state. You defeat them, and it was over. You can't defeat jihad or terrorism because it's everywhere. It exists everywhere, like there is murder in all different countries. Okay, I'm repeating myself, and I don't want to do that. So that's an absurd comment. And then he moves on to, well, President Obama, if he was president in World War II, we would have lost. Okay, I think it's time for this guy to get a little history lesson. Now, he makes the same mistake, unfortunately, a lot of Americans make, into overestimating our significance in World War II. Not saying we didn't help. Of course we helped. There's no doubt about that. But the reason why Hitler lost, according to most historians, is that he invaded Russia in the winter, which is a death sentence. He lost 23% of his army because of that. That's what did him in. That's what did Nazi Germany in. And by the way, this is a historic fact that nobody's been able to invade Russia in the winter and succeed. Russia is undefeated when people invade them in the winter because it's gigantic and it's fucking freezing. And Hitler was so convinced that Germany would have a quick defeat of Russia that they didn't even prepare with like winter clothes. They didn't prepare with everything that they needed to deal with the winter had the fight gone into the winter. So they went in when the weather was okay, and then winter came along because they didn't defeat Russia easily. They dragged them in further and further, and then 23% of his military died. That's why they lost. That's why they lost. Okay, again, it's not like the U.S. didn't help, but Russia would have defeated Nazi Germany either way. Okay, and this is something, by the way, that everybody outside of the U.S. knows, but people inside the U.S., because of our massive ego and our biased history books, we just think like, well, it's obviously all us that defeated the Nazis 100%. Nah, it's really not that simple. So, he's just a ridiculous human being, man. I don't know how else to say it. He wants to defeat something that you can't defeat, and he thinks that President Obama would have lost World War II. Right. President Obama was in control. The U.S. right now would be wearing lederhosen and eating bratwurst and looking at swastikas on our flags. Please, spare me.